What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Lance Storm. Today I'm sitting here with my buddy Steve-O because he had an interesting interaction this morning. And this is the type of interaction that we want to make sure that we go ahead and talk about now, because it literally just happened. We're not sure how it's going to develop, and it seemed like he might have been threatened, in a manner of speaking, by a badge holder. Would you like to pick this up and explain it a little further?
My name is Steve. I am a cultivator, and I have my license to do that here in the state of Missouri.
Very good.
I got a knock at the door this morning about 9:30. I was sleeping. I came to the door, and there was a detective from the Pulaski County Sheriff's Department that was standing there saying that he had a report of me growing marijuana and selling marijuana.
Really?
From my house. And that was the claim that they had.
Now, is there any truth to that?
Absolutely not. I have never sold marijuana.
Not in the time that I've known you. It's the mere fact that you have your medical marijuana card, to me, is pretty amazing. You've always kind of been not an opposition of marijuana, but a definite supporter of it, but not a user.
I've always had a job to where I cannot partake in it, but I don't see anything wrong with it. And I've actually seen a lot of benefits from marijuana helping people.
It does help a lot of people.
That's the reason why I have my cultivating license, because I have friends with cancer and anxiety and issues where they have to have medication.
Right. A lot of people need a lot of medication.
It's so hard to get right now in this area because the dispensaries are not open, the grow operations are not started yet,
right?
And people need medication.
Well, that's right.
And if they can get it legally, why can't they do that? Why can't we do that for them?
That's 100%. Now, what type of people actually are you looking at being able to provide medication to?
I've got a friend that just had a big surgery and had a bunch of tumors removed.
Yeah.
And then I have another friend who has also had a tumor removed from her breasts.
Yeah.
And they're terrified. Like, they don't want to use prescription medication because they're afraid of being hooked on pain medication.
Right.
So
I can understand that.
I told him, I was like, look, I have no issues getting my card and learning how to grow and getting them the medication that they desire to have and they have the right to have.
Through legal process of you being their caregiver, them being your patients.
Correct. So we're in the process of getting their license and putting me as their caregiver.
Now, how many patients can you have?
I can have 3 patients.
3 patients. And have you been providing anything for any patients?
Not at the moment, no. I've only been growing.
Cool.
And I only have the legal amount of plants. I am only going to be storing the legal amount of marijuana and medication that I'm allowed to have.
Very good. Sounds like you're acting in full accordance with the law and for your job title as well.
Yes.
Because, like you said earlier, you don't consume it.
I'm not a consumer of medical marijuana. Even though I have the right to, I've gotten my medication card.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a fine example of somebody who is a supporter of the industry on all aspects and is really looking out for patients. So let's talk a little bit more about this interaction that you had this morning.
So at the end of my interaction, after I invited the officers into my home to talk about what was said,
right,
they questioned me about what kind of activities I had going on, and I told them about my plants and where they're located and that they're locked up, and I
very good.
Showed him my cultivator's license because he already had a copy of my medical card.
Okay.
On him. He had already brought it with him. He had already been looking me up and found out that I do have a medical card.
That's really good to know, because previously the officers didn't have a way for them to check and see if we were medical patients or not. However, it's a little awkward, I'm guessing.
Yeah, he'd definitely been looking into me to find out if I, in fact, did have a medical card. And then at the end of our interaction, as he was getting ready to leave, he let me know that he is going to go to my employer and tell my employer that I do have a medical card and I am growing marijuana.
I'm not sure if that's the best thing for him to do.
I could lose my job over having a medical card at the place that I work at. Even though I'm not consuming, I still have a good possibility of losing my job over him going to my employer and telling them that I have it.
I would have to agree with you. Due to potential legality reasons and not wanting to incriminate anything along the way, we're not going to discuss what his career field is or his job title is at the moment. But he could definitely be impoverished by losing his job if this officer does this. To me, this is a concern because, one, it would appear to be a HIPAA violation for that officer to go out and discuss this man's medical issues, which he divulged to that officer, not to a public, on a public forefront or entity. That was my understanding of how this goes. I'm not an attorney, and that's one of the things that we're going to be looking into. How does the HIPAA
Yeah, we're
law
definitely going to be
work
talking to
with
people
this?
and looking through the laws and find out what, if anything, that they have done wrong in pursuing going to someone's employer and giving them medical information about somebody.
Yeah,
So
I would
we'll make sure that my rights have not been violated.
definitely.
And that's what this video was all about, is making sure that we cover the basis of what's been going on, what happened, and what we're going to do going forward.
Now, to make it clear, you're not upset with the officer. You just want
No,
to.
I know that they're doing their job. And
Right.
if they get complaints saying someone is selling marijuana,
They need to follow
they
up
have
on
to
it.
follow up.
Yeah.
But now that they've followed up and I've been able to give everything that supports what I've been doing legally,
Right.
I don't feel like it was something that he should be going to my...
That's pretty much where it ends, right there, right?
It should be where it would end.
It's not like you were out in public smoking.
Absolutely not.
You weren't at work consuming.
No, I don't even consume at home. Like I said, I have a job where I cannot have that in my system because they would not allow that to be.
So I'm having
thing.
a hard time understanding how something that that you're doing within accordance of the law in the confines of your own home affects the work that you would do at your 9 to 5.
It shouldn't. There should be a way. Hopefully soon they'll have a breathalyzer for marijuana. I know they're working on that. And it should be no more than having alcohol on your days off.
Right.
Like, it shouldn't be an issue, especially if it's medication.
Correct. Correct.
Like, if someone that worked my job had a prescription for pain medication, that's going to be in their system. So if they use it on their days off...
How many people have you seen at work take a Xanax?
Well, I know several people that have taken prescription medication,
Mm-hmm.
and as long as they're able to provide a prescription,
Right.
if
Then-
they had a UA, a urinalysis,
Then they're cleared
then
out.
they would be clear from any kind of charges. But it's not the same with medical marijuana.
Not at all. And the linger time is much greater with it.
Right. It would take
So-
probably about a month to clear out of my system.
So it's going to be pretty easy for you to express to them that you haven't been using
Correct.
marijuana.
I'm going to go, I'll probably have to go and take a urinalysis, but I'll pass with flying colors because I have not been consuming any form of medical marijuana. Or anything by that.
Steve, I have to say thank you for being a solid supporter of the industry. And what you're doing, what you're wanting to do for these patients is amazing because you're going at it the right way. I think it's very exemplary, and going about this conversation we're going about this conversation not to
We're
be
not trying
upset
to throw
with officers.
anything towards anybody. We're just trying to get a story out of what happened and what could potentially happen. And this video probably will not even get out unless something were to happen with
Definitely.
the employer. and the police working together against me.
Right. If it comes to be a situation where the officer goes to the employer and releases his medical information, then
At that point, we would get this video out there and get some information going further towards media.
definitely. The idea here is education. We want to help people get educated, understand what to be able to do in these situations, and that's not just for the patients, but also the officers involved. We want this to be a nice, smooth, friendly rollout on both sides of the fence.
Definitely. And cooperation between law enforcement and patients is always highly encouraged.
It's highly encouraged and crucial in this, in this questionable time as things roll forward. Steve, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lance, for having me and getting my
Great.
information out there.
Anytime, man. Thank you for coming here first.
Yep.